MH370. The search resumes. 10 years of unanswered questions in an age of satellites, constant tracking, and real-time communication. One aircraft vanished without a trace. March 8, 2014. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777, 239 people on board, no distress call, no emergency signal, no explanation. For years, no wreckage was found, only questions. The largest aviation search in history began and ended without answers. Now, 10 years later, the search is back. New technology, new analysis, and a final chance to uncover the truth. This is the story of what happened, what we still don't know, and why the mystery of MH370 refuses to rest. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was scheduled to depart Kuala Lumpur International Airport on the night of March 8, 2014. Its destination was Beijing Capital International Airport, a routine overnight flight frequently traveled by business passengers, families, and tourists. The aircraft was a Boeing 777-200ER, one of the most advanced and reliable commercial airplanes in the world. At the time, the Boeing 777 had an exceptional safety record, with millions of flight hours logged globally. On board were 239 people, 227 passengers from 14 different countries, and 12 crew members. The majority were Chinese nationals traveling home for business or personal reasons. Others came from Malaysia, Australia, France, the United States, and beyond. Weather conditions that night were stable, no storms, no severe turbulence reported along the planned route. There were no emergency warnings, mechanical alerts, or signs of trouble before departure, by every available measure. Flight 370 began as a normal flight, but less than an hour after takeoff, normal would become history. Malaysia Airlines. Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 12:41 a.m. local time. The aircraft climbed steadily to cruising altitude and followed its planned route toward Beijing. Less than 40 minutes after takeoff, the flight prepared to cross from Malaysian airspace into Vietnamese control. At 1:19 a.m., the final radio transmission was sent from the cockpit. "Good night, Malaysian 370. It was calm, routine, and the last time anyone heard from the aircraft. Moments later, the plane's secondary surveillance transponder stopped transmitting. The transponder is what allows air traffic control to identify an aircraft's position and altitude. Without it, Flight 370 effectively disappeared from civilian radar. But it had not vanished completely. Malaysian military radar later revealed something unexpected. The aircraft changed direction, making a deliberate turn back toward Malaysia. It crossed the Malaysian peninsula, flew over populated areas, and then turned northwest toward the Andaman Sea. No distress signal was sent. No emergency code was activated. At approximately 2:22 a.m., the aircraft disappeared from military radar for the final time. From that moment forward, the fate of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 became unknown. After Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared from radar, investigators faced a troubling reality. They had no confirmed location, no distress signal, and no visual contact, but the aircraft had not gone completely silent. High above the Earth, a communications satellite operated by a company called Inmarsat was still detecting the aircraft. These signals were not messages, and they were not tracking data. They were brief, automatic check-ins, often called handshakes. About once every hour, the satellite and the aircraft exchanged these signals, confirming only one thing, that the plane was still powered and still flying. By analyzing how long these signals took to travel, investigators narrowed the aircraft's possible location to two vast paths, one stretching north toward Central Asia, the other stretching south into the remote Indian Ocean. The northern path passed over multiple countries with active radar coverage, yet no radar systems along that route detected the aircraft. The southern path, however, led over some of the most isolated ocean on Earth, an area with little radar coverage, extreme depths, and violent sea conditions. Based on this data, investigators concluded the aircraft likely traveled south until it eventually ran out of fuel. Somewhere along this arc, the flight is believed to have ended, but there was a critical limitation. These satellite signals did not provide an exact location. They only showed distance, not direction, meaning the possible crash site spanned tens of thousands of square kilometers. It was the best information available, but it left investigators searching a needle in an ocean. What followed was an operation unlike anything the aviation world had ever seen. More than 20 countries joined the search for Malaysia Airlines FL. Military aircraft, naval ships, satellites, and underwater drones were deployed, spanning thousands of kilometers. At its peak, the search covered an area larger than many countries combined. It became the largest aviation search in history. But the southern Indian Ocean is one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Towering waves, unpredictable weather, and near-constant storms. Below the surface, conditions were even more extreme. Parts of the search area reached depths of more than 6 kilometers, deeper than the height of Mount Everest. Search teams used advanced sonar and autonomous underwater vehicles to scan the ocean floor, meter by meter. The seabed itself was uneven, filled with ridges, trenches, and underwater mountains. Years passed, thousands of square kilometers were searched, but the aircraft was never located. In 2018, after more than 4 years of effort, the official search was suspended, not because investigators had answers, but because the search area had been exhausted with the technology available at the time. For families of the 239 people on board, the announcement was devastating. The mystery remained, and so did the hope. For more than a year, after Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished, the ocean offered no answers. Then, in July 2015, nearly 16 months after the disappearance, a breakthrough occurred, more than 4,000 kilometers from the original search zone. On the shores of Réunion Island, a French territory in the western Indian Ocean, a piece of aircraft debris was discovered. It was identified as a flaperon, a control surface used to assist an aircraft during landing. Independent investigators and official agencies later confirmed the part belonged to a Boeing 777. Further analysis linked it with a high level of confidence to Flight 370. In the months that followed, additional debris pieces were found along the coasts of Africa and nearby islands. Some were confirmed, others were classified as highly likely to have originated from the same aircraft. Together, these fragments confirmed one crucial fact. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 ended in the ocean. But the debris could not answer the most important questions. It did not reveal the exact crash location, it did not explain the aircraft's final moments, and it did not determine why the plane changed course. Ocean currents can carry wreckage thousands of kilometers over many months. By the time these fragments reached land, their journey had already erased key details. The discoveries brought confirmation, but not closure. The pieces told us where the flight ended, but not how and not why. For years, the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 remained silent. But the mystery never faded, and neither did the calls for answers. In 2024, a new chapter began. A private marine exploration company, Ocean Infinity, proposed a renewed search in the southern Indian Ocean. Their offer followed an unusual model. If no wreckage is found, no payment is made. It was a risk the company was willing to take, driven by advances in technology not available a decade earlier. Today's search tools are faster, deeper, and far more precise. Autonomous underwater vehicles can now scan vast areas of ocean floor with greater clarity and at greater depths than ever before. Search teams are revisiting areas previously examined, guided by refined satellite analysis and updated drift models. For the families of the 239 people on board, this renewed effort represents more than technology. It is the possibility of answers after 10 years of waiting. No promises have been made, and success is not guaranteed, but for the first time in years, the search is no longer over. More than 10 years have passed since Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished. In that time, Technology has advanced, search areas have shifted, and theories have come and gone. Yet one thing has remained unchanged. 239 people never came home. For their families, the passage of time has not brought closure, only unanswered questions. MH370 is not just an aviation mystery, it is a reminder of how fragile certainty can be, even in a world defined by technology and data. The renewed search does not promise easy answers, but it carries something equally important: the refusal to stop asking questions. If the wreckage is found, it may finally explain what happened in the final hours of the flight. And if it is not, the story of MH370 will remain unfinished, a mystery written across the ocean. Until answers are found, the search continues, in memory of the 239 passengers and crew of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.